We're back. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, episode, whatever you want to call it. I'm not active on YouTube as much. I don't think I have to sugarcoat that. But nonetheless, I always come back and enjoy making videos. It's just fun. Long form content. It takes time. But when I do have the time to do it, I have a great time. And this has been something I've been working on for really the last 2 or 3 months of the NFL offseason. It's kind of my job now. I work at a radio station in Dallas. And so I'm constantly studying the prospects, watching film, learning stuff. You know, I'm not an expert by any means, but I'm just trying to get better and form my own opinions and learn about these prospects. If you guys want to listen to me yap more about sports, about NFL players, about anything sports related, please subscribe to my podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I make weekly episodes. Much appreciated. And if you want to hear me yap on my own job on the radio, then you should subscribe to 105.3 The Fan YouTube channel or on the Odyssey app. You can listen to me anytime, mostly on weekends. I'm still the rookie. I'm still learning my ropes, but I am on there constantly talking about the same things that I would be talking about on these videos and on my podcast. So all the support is much appreciated. And I know I don't post too much on YouTube. I'm not as active, but a like and subscribe would go a long way. So thank you so much. And go ahead and comment if you're watching this video. Who is your NFL team and who would you like to see them draft with their number 1 overall pick, or their first round selection, I should say, this NFL draft? I cannot wait, man. We are here 2 weeks to go. Actually, 2 weeks from this day when it's being recorded. Today is Thursday, April 9th. The draft is in 2 weeks from today. And look, here's the deal. Originally, I was going to do a NFL mock draft post free agency. That was going to be my first mock draft. Now, I made one, but I didn't really break it down. This is the one where I'm finalizing. This is most likely going to be my last mock draft before the NFL draft kicks off in 2 weeks. I'll probably have a last second one, but in terms of my analysis on all these prospects and everything in the first round, this is going to be finalized, mostly 100% accurate. Maybe I might make one minor tweaks if I hear something crazy, if I'm getting this source, but regardless, this is pinpoint my official 2026 NFL mock draft. Let's get into it. Okay. But Fernando Mendoza, this is a clear and obvious pick here. I'm a huge fan of this guy. And it's not because he's some crazy Hall of Fame level prospect. Like, I don't look at this guy and think, okay, this is Cam Newton, this is Trevor Lawrence, this is Peyton Manning coming out by any means. But I'm a big fan of him because of how mature and how tough he is. He is well beyond his years of football. When you watch him talk, you watch him play, you watch him speak. He's very wise. And I feel like he has all the intangibles and tangibles you want in a franchise quarterback. He's tall. He has great size. 6'5", 225. He's a big dude. And that's what you love to see. And I know a lot of people, I'm not the only one that think this way, but we love our quarterbacks to have size. And not only that, but you want your franchise quarterback to be able to take risk with that size that they have. And not only does Fernando Mendoza do that, but he does that in the biggest moments. He did that in the national championship game. I think back to that run, where it's 4th down, they need a big play, and he dives into the end zone, puts his body on the line. Like, plays like that is telling me that this kid's going to be something special in the NFL. And you have to have quarterbacks that are willing to make those risks, even when they're not as talented. Like I said, this dude isn't Justin Herbert, Josh Allen level arm talent or athlete coming out. But he's going to win you games. He's going to make the throws you need him to make. And I think he's going to be a really good franchise quarterback in this league. He's not afraid to make the throw that you need him to make, right? A lot of young QBs avoid pressure, or they panic when they're under pressure. They'll end up making dumb mistakes, bad IQ plays. But Fernando specifically has a great way of trusting his pocket presence because he's a very high IQ QB, right? And like I said, you watch him in the playoffs, the college football playoffs, right? He didn't blow the numbers out of the way. He wasn't out there throwing 500, 400 yards a game and 5 touchdowns. But man, the dude his completion percentage was off the roofs. He was making the throws he needed to make. He's just doing what he needs to do. It's kind of like watching a Tom Brady-led offense. So obviously there might be some growing pains coming in because, the Raiders had the worst offensive line in the league last year. It wasn't even close. Ashton Jeanty had no chance. Geno Smith, as much as he regressed, his offensive line didn't give him a lot of help. They just signed Tyler Linderbaum, so hopefully the offensive line is on the right trajectory here. They can still upgrade in the draft, but Fernando Mendoza, I think, is not coming into maybe the perfect situation, but obviously it could be worse too. So even though it might take a couple years, I think if you give him a structured offense, I think he's going to win you a lot of games. In terms of ceiling for him, I think he's a lot like Jared Goff, Alex Smith, Kirk Cousins, right? Similar games where they kind of play like a game manager at times, but I don't think he's like this crazy high-level Hall of Fame prospect. He can turn into that, Obviously, he's going to be in good company with Tom Brady running things over there in Vegas. Right now, you bring in a new offensive-minded head coach in Clint Kubiak. So I think they can unlock Fernando Mendoza and take his game to the next level. But I think in terms of what is going to make him elite quarterback in this league is going to be him developing into an elite pocket passer. Right? Like pre-snap processing will really determine how high his ceiling is, I think. I think right now, Jared Goff, Alex Smith, very good franchise level quarterback with a high floor. But in terms of taking that next jump, he's going to have to turn into an elite pocket passer. The Jets are picking at number 2, and this one's going to be really interesting because we know that they are taking an edge rusher, but the question is this going to be Arvell Reese? Is this going to be David Bailey? So to me, the Jets can do no wrong in terms of positional value here. They obviously should take the best defensive player. More I think about it, they are going to go Arvell Reese here with the number 2 overall pick. I think this is a really good fit because, they have a new defensive coordinator. They're changing their scheme to a 3-4. David Bailey, I think, is more safe. He's more polished. He's the better overall pure edge rusher coming out. But Arvell Reese's upside, man, is just absolutely insane. He's a freak athlete. In my opinion, he is the best defensive player in this draft. He's very fluid, explosive. He was the chess piece of an Ohio State defense that was elite. And I think coming in, having the ability to play off ball, but also have the edge rushing upside, kind of like Micah Parsons was coming out, I think this guy could be an all-pro coming out year 1. So to me, I'm higher on Arvell Reese. I think Arvell Reese should be the pick here. And based on everything I have been looking at, I originally had David Bailey mocked here, but the more I think about it, I do believe that the Jets are going to take Arvell Reese with the number 2 overall pick here. This is the first team that I could see making a trade. We talk about the rumors being there's going to be very trade driven with all these teams. The Cardinals are a team that could trade. I've heard the Browns are a team that could trade. The Cowboys are a team that could trade up, even though I think that's more buzz than anything. Who knows what the Chiefs are thinking? Are they that desperate to get a guy like Sonny Styles? Do they think they could have him at number 9? Do they have to trade up a couple spots, right? Do they think Caleb Downs is going to be there at number 9 if they want to take him, right? Is Mansour Delane a guy that they're eyeing after losing Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson? I think that's a team that could trade. Obviously, the Dolphins are a team that rebuilding. They could trade back. The Rams are a team that could trade back. There's a lot of teams. Everybody's talking about these teams trading. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, spoiler alert, I actually don't have any trades in my mock draft this year. I'm going to just keep it as simple as I can with who I think this team should take, who I think they're going to take. There is likely going to be a trade. I'm never going to be 100% right. So the Cardinals are probably going to be that first team. If there was going to be a trade, they probably would trade. I don't have the Cardinals trading in this scenario. I would have them taking the best offensive tackle, Francis Mauigoa. We know that your franchise quarterback is not on your team right now. You're probably likely going to be picking in the top 3 next year as well. So if that's the case, I've talked about this many times. If you are a bad team that doesn't have a quarterback, unless you are certain that your franchise quarterback is there in the top 5, you build in the trenches. And Francis Mauigoa is a guy that I think is going to be really good. I'm pretty confident that he has all the tools to be really good. He's thick, pause, but, he has a lot of power. You watch him drive his legs when he's blocking. The dude is freaking strong. And he was an incredibly physical run blocker at Miami. I think he also has the tools to play guard. Some of these tackles probably benefit playing guard more. I think Francis Mauigoa, the way he is as a physical run blocker, I think he has the tools to be a really good guard, but nonetheless, you can put him on the opposite side of Paris Johnson with the Cardinals, continue to build in the trenches. I think his technique could be touched a little bit. Maybe his footwork could use some sharpening, but overall, watching him on the tape, I like this guy a lot, and I think he's going to be the best offensive tackle in this draft. The Tennessee Titans at number 4, Robert Saleh coming in, making some trades. Jermaine Johnson on the defensive line, John Franklin Myers, Jeffrey Simmons up there, man. They're going to have a pretty exciting defensive line. So I've seen a lot of mock drafts of saying, hey, David Bailey's there. Robert Saleh is going to go defensive there. Look, it would not surprise me. But the thing about it, man, is I just think they need better skilled players around Cam Ward. I don't think this is a time where the Titans should reach on another offensive lineman. I love the idea of the upside of Monroe Freeling. I know he's been rising on a lot of people's mock draft, especially because he's so young and he broke out this year for Georgia. Spencer Fano is a guy, his body of work has done really good. But again, I still think it's too early to take a tackle from these guys. I think after Francis Mauigoa, I think there's a little bit of a drop off in my opinion. Maybe Spencer Fano can match that if he reaches his upside. Monroe Freeling just feels more of a wild card. And then Blake Miller, I just don't think he's that type of NFL pro ready offensive tackle right away. Caden Proctor, I like him a lot. He's also rising, but again, I don't think Caden Proctor is going to be a top 5 pick by any means. So I think the Titans should take the best player available here and the best offensive skill player available, and that's Jeremiah Love. I think Robert Saleh is going to take Jeremiah Love with the 4th overall pick, and knowing that the Giants could probably take him too. Look, I don't think that would be the best pick for the Giants, but if I would describe Jeremiah Love, I would say he's the safest player in this draft. The dude just has it. I don't think he's as quite a big of a prospect as Ashton Jeanty was coming out last year, but I definitely think he could end up being the better pro back in the situation that he's in with Tennessee. I think Tennessee's offensive line is a little bit more established, right? J.C. Latham, Peter Skoranek, right? They got some guys up there that they've kind of built in the trenches. Cam Ward, his offensive line last year, pass protection was pretty bad, but he was a really good improviser. You take some pressure off of him in the run game. I know Tony Pollard is an inconsistent number 1 back. Tajay Spears is a number 2 at best. So I think you get your full-on offensive engine in Jeremiah Love, take some pressure off of Cam Ward, best player available. Jeremiah Love, he reminds me a lot like Le'Veon Bell, right? He's very patient. His footwork and quickness and his balance inside the pocket is just really insane. He has elite takeoff speed. His vision is phenomenal. And he provides you a really good receiving threat like Le'Veon Bell, right? If you need to generate production in the backfield, line him up out wide, dump it off. I think Jeremiah Love is a guy that can help you make those plays. And I know people are probably going to think, okay, well, if you're saying all these things about him, how is he not as good as Jeanty or Saquon or Zeke or Bijan or Gurley, like some of these other prospects? And I think the reason is because of the lack of explosion. His lack of explosion and agility, as some of those other backs coming out maybe isn't as good, but that doesn't take away from how good of a player he is. I still think he, like similar to these other guys, he's still developing as a pass blocker. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott was an amazing pass blocker. And I think, he can work between the tackles and can improve on that. But in terms of once he sees the hole, once he gets through the hole, I think he's very effective, and he's one of the best running back prospects that we've seen in a while. This leads to the Giants at number 5. This is a team that I'm confident is not going to trade out. I think they're going to end up selecting defense here for sure. I like the idea of Carnell Tate. I like the idea of Mekhi Lemon to get some more help for Jackson Dart, right? You believe he's going to be your franchise quarterback. But here's the thing. I think John Harbaugh coming in, defensive-minded guy, changing defensive coordinators, I think they're going to take the next best available defensive player. So at this point, right, is that Sonny Styles? Is that Caleb Downs? Is that David Bailey? Is that Reuben Bain? I don't think Reuben Bain is on their radar. I don't think David Bailey is even on the radar. So to me, it comes down to the 2 Ohio State boys, Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles. I think maybe they would benefit more for Sonny Styles just in terms of Bobby Okereke's now out of town. He had a down year. You really need to kind of beef up that middle linebacker, that true Mike spot. I think Sonny Styles fits their scheme a little bit more. But I think John Harbaugh is not going to pass up the idea of Caleb Downs being the best defensive prospect in this class. I think a lot of people would argue that if it's not Arvell Reese, then I think most people would say Caleb Downs. And a lot of people say Caleb Downs is going to be falling all the way to the Cowboys at 12. I just don't see that happening. I just think there's too many teams that would not pass Caleb Downs up. Like, let's say even if the Giants take Sonny Styles, I don't think the Browns would take him. I wouldn't imagine Dan Quinn passing him up. I wouldn't imagine the Saints passing him up. I wouldn't even pass the Chiefs passing him up. And then at that point, right, the Bengals need everything defensively. There's no way they would pass him up. So to me, I just don't see Caleb Downs falling any farther than, I would say, honestly, any farther than 9. If he gets past the Chiefs at number 9, I'd be very surprised. And Harbaugh will have a really good time using him, man. I mean, he can play slot, he can play nickel, he can play safety. There's a bunch of different ways you can use Caleb Downs outside of just having him be a pure safety. I mean, the dude's an absolute total game wrecker. He's a can't-miss prospect. He's elite in deep zone, underneath zone, super physical for his size, straight up does not miss tackles. I mean, you watch him play at Ohio State. When he drives his lower body, he uses his legs and just throws players into the dirt. It's super impressive, man. His tape is fun to watch. Obviously, he can improve in man coverage. You know, sometimes he ends up being over aggressive at some of the angles he takes, and he's a smaller guy. But again, you wouldn't think he's 5'11 and 206 by just how smart he plays and how much of a game wrecker he is. He plays a lot bigger than his size. It's either him or Arvell Reese for me as the best defensive player available. Positional value matters. Giants should take him right here and not overthink it. So I talked about the Browns being a team that could trade back. They absolutely could. But again, they're also a team that could take an offensive lineman. I've seen guys, Monroe Freeland, going as high as number 6 here, right? I think they could go definitely wide receiver here. A lot of people believe Mekhi Lemon is the best wide receiver prospect in this class. But to me, I think Carnell Tate is the safest option here. I think the Browns are going to take Carnell Tate. They could take an offensive lineman, but again, I don't think the Browns need to reach on offensive lineman here early. I understand that you got to get protection for your quarterback, but they're going to be picking at number 24. So I think they can wait. They're going to get a decent offensive lineman. I don't think you need to reach here. I think you need to take the best offensive weapon here, whether that's Mekhi Lemon, whether that's Carnell Tate. Hell, if this Jordan Tyson injury, if it's overblown, take Jordan Tyson. But to me, I think Carnell Tate is just more safe. I'm not reaching on tackle here if I'm Cleveland. But I do like the fit for Carnell Tate, man. I mean, you get an outside deep ball threat for Shedeur Sanders. I think that's what you need. Shedeur Sanders was really good at the deep ball in college. We kind of saw the flashes of it his rookie season, some of the big throws he made downfield. And that's exactly what Carnell Tate is. He's a downfield weapon. He's a contested catch. He has insane hands. The body control is great. Great ball skills, ball tracking ability. I mean, I don't think I saw him drop one big pass. I mean, literally the spectacular catch in Madden's probably going to be like a 99 year one, no glaze. But yeah, I mean, he, to me, is a very good deep threat. He kind of reminds me a lot like Devontae Adams coming out. Contested catch, deep ball, need to make the play downfield. I've seen some comparisons to George Pickens. I just think George Pickens is a lot better yards after catch. I don't think Carnell Tate is as established yards after catch. And I think that's what's really going to take him to that next level. If he wants to end up being the JSNs, the Garrett Wilsons of the world, those elite wide receiver, then I think you need to have the yards after catch improved. I mean, his route running, I think he's really good at the hitches, the curls, the comebacks, the verticals. But the in-breaking and out-breaking concepts could be a little bit better. I think sometimes he plays with a little lack of effort. I would like to see a little bit more effort from a receiver like that. And, he doesn't wow you with his speed, but I don't think speed is too much of a problem. Obviously, when you have good release and separation, speed doesn't matter. We've seen that too many times with prospects. So I'm not going to look at him and be like, oh, he's not fast enough to be a good wide receiver. He went to OSU. He creates good release and separation. He's going to be a good prospect. It's just a matter of, is he going to be that elite top 5 to 10 wide receiver range? But I like this pick a lot. I like the fit a lot with Shedeur Sanders. And outside of Jerry Jeudy, they just don't have a guy that can extend the field, that can separate the field. So Carnell Tate is the right pick here. I think the Browns take him at number 6. This is where I have David Bailey getting drafted by the Washington Commanders here. And I think this is a good pick for them at this point. I think Dan Quinn has no choice but to take a defensive player here. He's coming into 2026 in the hot seat after a disappointing 5-12 campaign. Obviously it was mismanaged, injury riddled, and filled with just old players. I mean, being a defensive minded coach, you absolutely cannot have one of the worst defenses in the league for 2 straight years. And given how busy they were in the offseason, they added some new acquisitions on the defense side of the ball. Odafe Owe, right? They brought him in. Caleb Von Chason was solid for the Patriots last year. Nick Cross was a good pick at safety. Caleb Downs is arguably the best defensive player in the draft. He's gone. Arvell Reese is gone. I think David Bailey is the most pure, polished edge rusher in this draft class. Great burst, explosiveness. The first step is really good. I mean, you watch his game versus Oregon in the playoffs. His first step was absolutely insane. I mean, last year, 14.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss. Good bend around the tackles. He has really good speed, 4.5 speed. So everything you want in a pure edge rusher. I think he's NFL ready, but he's a very bad run defender. There's question on his size. He doesn't seem like he's the strongest guy. And as polished as he is, he's not, he doesn't have a wide arsenal of pass rushing moves. And, sometimes I've seen him left on an island, when he over pursues his gaps. So I think he wins with speed and athletic ability, but I just don't think he has the technical skills like an Arvell Reese to end up being like a Micah Parsons level talent. I don't know. The tape is ugly. He seems stiff. He's not as fluid. He just looks slow technically, even though he's not slow. There's just something about watching his tape that I don't like about David Bailey. I'm not going to go as far as say that he's going to be a bust. He's going to be Tyree Wilson bad. But to me, I don't know if he's going to be as good as everybody thinks. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe I'm wrong. But given that he is going to be at number 7, I think this is good value for him. The New Orleans Saints, a lot of people think that this could be wide receiver, right? You're going to go Mekhi Lemon, you're going to go Jordan Tyson, give some help for Tyler Shough. I think they're going to go defense here. They just lost to Mario Davis. I think they need that true Mike linebacker, get some youth in there. Sonny Styles is a guy that I could see fitting with their defensive scheme a lot. Caleb Downs could be a guy, if he is here, that I would love to see them draft. I don't think Ruben Bain's quite on their radar. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Sonny Styles at this point, given with how insane his combine was, how much of a freak athlete he is, how much potential he could have, I think the Saints won't pass him up here at number 8. And this really does hurt me, man, because I really wanted the Cowboys to draft Sonny Styles at number 12. It just sucks, man. I just don't see him going any farther than 8 at this point. I would love to see him at number 12. If Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs is there, I think that's a perfect world for the Cowboys fans. But to think about how insane of an athlete Sonny Styles is. He's 6'5", 244. He has everything that you want, the length, the size, the frame. His run stopping ability is amazing in open field. Just seeing him run to tacklers and bring them down. The technique's good. He has some great off-ball linebacker coverage in man and zone. I feel like he can read QB's eyes and jump passing lanes, so he's going to have potential to be kind of like a ball-hawking linebacker as well. And I just feel like he has a great feel of where everybody's at, even when, his eyes aren't always on the quarterback of what he's doing. So I think he's going to have to add some strength. If he puts on some weight, he could really take his game to the next level and maybe become an effective pass rusher someday. But as of right now, I just think he's going to be a really true Mike linebacker in coverage, with ability to have some good tackling. He could be a guy that could lead the NFL in tackles, but I don't know if I see him too much of a pass rusher coming out. The Kansas City Chiefs are picking at number 9, and I feel like they could go 4 or 5 different positions here. I would not question it. I mean, last year was very unusual seeing them go from a team that won every single one-score game in 2024 to losing all of them in 2025. On top of that, Patrick Mahomes just straight up has not had an elite season since 2022. Ever since he won MVP in that Super Bowl before when they started the back-to-back, he just hasn't been elite. And now he's going to be 30, coming off an ACL tear. I would not hate the idea of taking Spencer Fano or Monroe Freeling here, or maybe even Caden Proctor, right? Because I've seen some mock drafts where they have him high. If you get one of those 3 guys to ensure that you protect your all-time great QB coming off an ACL tear, it would not surprise me. It's the Chiefs. I would trust them. But the fact is, Mahomes will probably miss some time to start the season anyways. I think they say he might miss the first 4 games or so. And they got Justin Fields. I expect to see him a little bit in 2026. If that's the case, I think they will address the O-line at number 29. Remember, they do have a later pick in this draft. With number 9, a team that is used to contending for Super Bowl, I think they're going to upgrade the pass rushing hole and take the best player available. And an absolute stud in Ruben Bain. This is where Ruben Bain goes here. Look, man, Chris Jones is getting older, right? You need another option on the opposite side of George Karlaftis. I know there's concerns about this so-called T-Rex arm. Look, man, I watched the tape. I saw him in college. I saw him wreck my Aggies. You put him with Spags, he's going to be a dog. I think you're going to overcome those concerns about his 30-inch arm length or whatever, his undersize. And I think they're going to find a way to make it work. He has good bend, but he lacks speed. And, is that going to translate on the NFL level? But again, you put him in the right situation. You give him Spags. I think you improve on his gaps, especially against the run. I think he's going to be really good. He obviously has the frame. He was a disruptor in college. He wins with leverage and power. He has great quickness off the line. The bend could obviously be better, but it's not David Bailey level good, but I do think that Ruben Bain, watching the tape, seeing him in college, the gains speak for itself. I'm not too concerned about the fact that he has short arms. I think he's going to be just fine in the NFL. And with the Chiefs here, he's going to be a good edge rusher. I like Bain going to the Chiefs at number 9. And this is where it leads the Bengals taking Mansour Delane at number 10. I think this is a good fit for them because they have glaring holes on most defensive positions, especially the defensive line. But obviously, this is too early to take a defensive tackle here. So you guessed it, best player available, Mansour Delane, is that pick at cornerback. And there's an ongoing debate if he's better than Gerard McCoy. But one thing I'm certain is Delane will be more available and ready to impact a team's defense day 1. And for that, he is my cornerback 1, and I do not see him going any worse than number 12. I would love to see the Cowboys take him. Honestly, if it's Mansour Delane, if it's Caleb Downs, if it's Sonny Styles, hell, if it's Ruben Bain at number 12, I'd be happy. The thing about Mansour Delane, I think it's a good fit because the Bengals secondary was arguably as bad as the Cowboys. But I like Mansour Delane. He's really sticky in coverage. He's good at mirroring the wide receivers. He doesn't allow a lot of separation. He has good IQ. He can read his routes. He can see when the plays are developing, the lateral movement, good hip movement. Watching him on tape, he seems smooth with how he matches the wide receivers. The footwork and technique is really good. It's very sharp. He has active hands. I'm watching that when I watch cornerback tape, right? Do you have active hands? Are you effective at making pass breakups? Are you good at timing at the point of the catch when the quarterback is releasing to the wide receivers? And he's really good at that. So I think overall he has all the skills to be a really good cornerback in this league. I think there's a reason he is going to be cornerback number 1 in this draft. Sometimes He's inconsistent as a tackler. He's a good athlete, but he's not a crazy athlete. He's not going to wow you with athleticism or anything. But again, I think the technique is going to overshadow that. I think he's going to be a really good cornerback in this league. And I like the Bengals taking him and being their cornerback 1 next year. That leaves the Miami Dolphins at number 11. And look, at this point, I think they're going to take their wide receiver 1. Is that Mekhi Lemon? Is that Jordan Tyson? To me, Mekhi Lemon is the better prospect. I think they're going to take Mekhi Lemon. They just traded away Jalen Waddle. Malik Willis is coming in. You got to give your quarterback a wide receiver 1, because here's the deal. Are you really going to come into the season with Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell as your wide receiving room? I don't think so. I think this point, Mekhi Lemons is the best prospect available here at the wide receiver position, and you take him right now, and you replace the loss of Jalen Waddle. I like Lemon a lot, man. He's coming in as a top 10 prospect on my draft board. I have him right behind Tate as the best wide receiver in this class. And the reason I'm a huge fan of Mekhi Lemon is because he is a precision route runner, man. He is great at creating separation from technique and leverage. Very effective in the slot. He's kind of like the Amon-Ra's, the JSN, the Cooper Kupp type of guys that are very effective in the slot. He's very experienced as a wide receiver who has the full route tree. He can kind of do everything. He's got the quickness. He's got the tough. He's got the good ball skills. I think he's going to be a very productive wide receiver day 1. My Dallas Cowboys are picking number 12. And at this point, everybody that I wanted is gone, right? Mansour Delane, gone. Sonny Styles, gone. Reuben Bain, gone. Caleb Downs, gone. 4 guys at least that I would want are all gone. So I'm hoping one of those guys are available and it goes against my mock draft. But I think at this point, they are going to end up pulling the trigger and taking Gerard McCoy. And I know a lot of Cowboys fans aren't going to like it because they're like, oh man, he's coming off of a really bad knee injury. But here's the deal that I feel really confident and better about selecting Gerard McCoy out of here. We saw his pro day a couple weeks ago. He didn't look like a player that was 15 months removed from an ACL injury. At first, I was absolutely against taking the gamble, right? You can't bring a dude in on a rebuilding defense who's injury prone. You just can't do that. But his speed was up to par, 4.3. His jumps and cuts looked perfect. It didn't look like a guy who was coming off a knee injury. And Jerry Jones is a desperate man, right? He knows Deron Bland is not going to cut it. And McCoy will have the potential to come in and be the automatic cornerback 1. He can also play nickel, which the Cowboys do not trust anybody else to do consistently. So I think you have an ability to move him around, make him your cornerback 1. The passing defense was historically bad. And I think Jerry will take the risk seeing the pro day and trust, hey, McCoy looked like himself. If we can get the 2024 version that we got at Tennessee, man, then we got to steal here at number 12 because this man was absolutely the best cornerback in college football in 2024. Like, he's physically gifted. He wears down wide receivers. He has consistent hands. He's great at tackling, unlike Mansour Delane. He has quick twitch, great at the catch point. It's hard to test because his reflexes are just absolutely insane when you watch him on tape. He's the best corner in this draft when he's healthy. If he can get to that level, if he's healthy, I'm confident that this is a great pick for the Dallas Cowboys. So really the only concerns with me for him is the injury. If you're guaranteeing me you can get 2024 version of Gerard McCoy, the Cowboys got the best cornerback in this draft and I'm happy. The Rams are another interesting pick at number 13 because I think they can go offensive lineman, right? Do they go Monroe Freeling? Do they go Spencer Fennell? Do they pull the trigger on Jordan Tyson and try to make up for the loss of Puka Nacua dealing with all the issues he's having right now and Devontae Adams getting older, right? Omar Cooper is a guy that's rising on a lot of people's mock drafts. To me, I don't think they're going to reach on it. I think they're going to take the offensive weapon and Kenyon Sadiq at tight end. And look, I know he's listed as a tight end and they need more of a receiver. Sadiq plays like an extra wide receiver, and the thought of McVay using him in those 3 tight end sets is just scary to think about. He provides a physical run blocking trait that can really open up the overall offense of the Rams, which is scary because their offense is already insane. I think the best fit for Sean McVay would be Mekhi Lemon because he's a perfect Puka Nacua prototype, Cooper Kupp prototype, but I just don't think it's going to fall. To me, I think they're going to take the best offensive player here, and that's Kenyon Sadiq. And speaking of Kenyon Sadiq, he was mocked at the Ravens for a lot of mock drafts, but I don't think he's going to be here. And here's the thing. Ravens' offensive line was awful last year. Piss poor at best last season. And Lamar Jackson did not look like the same player at all. As an athlete, as a quarterback, he looked like he regressed and took a major step back. And the injuries did not help. It's a new era with Jesse Minter in Baltimore. They brought in a new offensive line coach and Dwayne Ledford after losing Tyler Linderbaugh in the offseason. They have a glaring hole at the guard and center position. You have to take Oliva Vega-Ione. This is the best interior offensive lineman in this class. And he was a dog at Penn State, man. Don't overthink this. I know you want to take maybe a Jordan Tyson and Omar Cooper, give some help on the receiving core, but that's not the Ravens' philosophy. You got to build in the trenches. He's one of those guys that just has really good grip strength. He has a good center of gravity where he's at. He has really good impressive foot speed and pulling ability. He's just physically imposing and difficult to match up against. He has really good size, 6'4", 320. Obviously, his biggest weakness is run blocking. It's a work in progress. I think he needs to be more consistent with his hand usage and pass protection, but he's a solid athlete overall. Not a great athlete, but a solid athlete. I think he's going to be really good in this league. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler day one. He's the best offensive guard in this draft by far, and I do think that he has the potential to be the best offensive lineman in this class. Oliva Vega-Ione is the pick for the Ravens at number 14. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are picking in the top 15, and they explicitly stated at the Combine that they need to get, end quote, more pressure on the quarterback. Todd Bowles, to me, should have got the axe this offseason. But regardless, he's on thin ice coming into 2026. I think they stick to their defensive roots here, and they take the most polished and ready pass rusher who is left on the board. And to me, that is Akeem Mesidor, the edge rusher out of Miami, the opposite side of Ruben Bain. Look, I'm a little worried about Akeem Mesidor being a really good edge rusher because I think after Arvell Reese, after David Bailey, after Ruben Bain, I think there's a significant drop-off on these edge rushers. I don't think it's as good of a class. I think there's a lot of more question marks with these other guys as opposed to more hits. But at least with Akeem Mesidor, there's established experience, right? He's going to be 25 when his rookie season starts. He's one of the older players in this draft class. I think being able to play the opposite side of Ruben Bain, learn from him, and an elite defensive line, I think he has the potential to just come into a good system on the defensive line and just be good. And I think Tampa Bay with Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby, I think he has a chance to come in and be a good rotational piece. I don't think he's going to be a star or anything. But again, there's a lot of question marks with these guys outside of those top three. I'm not going to say too much about it. I think Akeem Mesidor is going to be an okay player, rotational piece. I just don't know if he's going to be a star. I'm pretty confident that the Jets are going to get some help for their quarterback, who's going to be Geno Smith again in the Big 2026. But you got to get some help opposite of Garrett Wilson. You need a true wide receiver too. And to me, that should be Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson, I think, has everything you want to be as good as Mekhi Lemon or as good as Carnell Tate. But the thing is, that injury concern, a lot of people are rising on the idea of Omar Cooper Jr., and I think he's going to be a much more established wide receiver 2 than wide receiver 1. And to me, that fits the Jets' idea of taking a wide receiver 2 for Garrett Wilson, and to me, that is going to be Omar Cooper Jr. Yep, Omar Cooper Jr. will go before Jordan Tyson. You heard it here first. I don't think he's going to be as good as Jordan Tyson, but I do think his floor is very safe. If you want a super safe wide receiver 2 that is going to be able to have good body control, good yards after catch, excel working over the middle of the field, right? The crossers, the slants, the digs, somebody to be a true bona fide wide receiver 2, I think Omar Cooper fits that role perfectly for the Jets. This is where the offensive linemen are going to start going. Monroe Freeling will not go much farther than this. The Lions need to fill the hole at left tackle, or I guess wherever Penei Sewell decides to play next year, if he's going to play left or right, after the loss of Taylor Decker. And Monroe Freeling, like I said, the upside is really good. Now, the question is he going to hit that upside? Because he does have some question marks. As high of a ceiling that Monroe Freeling has, elite athlete, right? 6'7", 315, and runs a 4.9. That's insane. And, he has this insane broad frame. He's well-rounded, good arm length. But the thing about it, he might be a project day one. And I would hate for this to be a situation like Broderick Jones, because similar to Broderick Jones, he's also coming from Georgia. He's also an elite athlete. He's also super big and has the same attributes as a Broderick Jones. But Broderick Jones has been a huge disappointment for the Steelers. So I would hate for that to be a situation like Broderick Jones. And Monroe Freeling, he's very inexperienced. He's only played 18 games in college. He was a one-year starter at left tackle, and he broke out this year. So there's a reason he's skyrocketed on people's mock drafts, but he's inconsistent in solo block. You see stuff on tape, and it's just a little bit sloppy. I think he lacks power to drive blocks. Sometimes he has that upright style that leaves him overextending at times that you see on tape. He falls off his blocks too often. I think he needs to gain a little bit more lower body strength like Francis Mauigoa to be on that same level and obviously generate more power in the run game. Obviously, he has really good higher body strength, but the lower body strength is what concerns me. I just think he might be more of a project day one. But again, if he can hit that high ceiling, right? If he can be that elite athlete, if he could be good at peeling off double teams, if he can have that insane, broad, well-rounded frame, the arm length to make him a really good effective pass blocking offensive lineman day one, then I think this guy could be a Pro Bowler. This one's a chalky pick, but I think Dylan Thiedemann is a great value pick for the Vikings at number 18. With the status being unknown with Harrison Smith, you kind of get his Harrison Smith prototype replacement. And Brian Flores is a defensive genius, and getting a playmaker like Thiedemann will add a gem to this defense. He's an elite athlete. And the college production backs it up too, right? Like he has an ability to read plays and react when playing deep. His agility and ball skills to keep up with the wide receiver, his physicality to body tight ends. At best, when he's further off the line and can fly downhill and defeat the blocks, I mean, he's absolutely laying wood on players, man. So look, there's some question marks about, right, like when he's working through blockers, sometimes he engages with the blockers when still reading the rushers, and sometimes that gets him trapped up and bunched up with some of these offensive linemen, and he can get caught in between the tackles for some of the bigger guys. But overall, I really do like him as an athlete. Look, I don't think he's as good as Caleb Downs. I think he's a little bit more over-aggressive and misses tackles more than Caleb Downs, because I don't see Caleb Downs miss tackles at all. But I think he is the best available defensive player at this point, and I think he fits what the Vikings are building at that safety position. So it's interesting because I've been seeing some mock drafts about Oscar Delp being a guy that the Panthers could end up drafting early, but I don't think they're going to take him as high as number 19. So to me, I think they take the best offensive lineman available, and they take Spencer Fano out of Utah. And I think this is going to end up lining up pretty well because Dave Canales' approach at this draft was pretty simple. He said, and I quote, "I don't believe in drafting for depth." So to me, does that mean they are taking the best player available? Maybe. It could mean that. Regardless, the Panthers have made some noise in free agency on the defensive side of the ball with inconsistent O-line. And look, Sadiq is off the board. I absolutely love the value of Spencer Fano at pick number 19. In my opinion, he is right there with Francis Mauigoa as the best tackle in this class. I like how light he is on his feet. I like that he can play anywhere on the line outside of just the tackle position. I think he has good foot speed. He flies all over the field. He's great in open field, and his overall hand usage is pretty good. He doesn't get beat by a lot of moves like Monroe Freeling does. I just think his upside and his day one potential is just a lot better than Monroe Freeling. So on my draft board, I have Francis Mauigoa and Spencer Fano ahead of Monroe Freeling. I guess the only weakness about and concerns about Spencer Fano is like sometimes he oversets, he struggles to sustain blocks with his hand placements at times, but overall his hand usage is good. I think the lack of power in the run game can maybe hold him back a little bit, but it's a lot of that with these offensive linemen coming into this class. And I think a lot of these guys can benefit playing guard, and I think that could help out their run game a little bit more. And he is on the lighter side for a tackle, so maybe likely going to have to put on some weight. As good as he is, he's just too small. He's too small. He's going to have to put on some weight to hold up. And a lot of people believe that he would be a top 5 to 10 prospect like a Francis Mauigoa if he was bigger. So the concerns, again, the question marks are something we can't overlook, but I do think I like him as a day one potential starter over a Monroe Freeling. I just think that the Lions are liking the upside a little bit more there, and I think the Panthers will take Spencer Fano at number 19, which leaves my Dallas Cowboys at number 20, and I would love the idea of CJ Allen, but based on everything that I've talked to with 105.3 The Fan, those boys, all the Cowboys analysts that I've been reading into, it doesn't seem like CJ Allen is a guy that's going to be on their radar anymore because of the meniscus tear that he suffered. I think they're going to pass up on CJ Allen there, even though they have a glaring hole at linebacker, and they already dressed cornerback, so you would think it'd be linebacker. Obviously, you have to go edge here. I know Donovan Ezeraku is supposed to be that guy, but again, he's still developing. I know they brought in Rashawn Gary, but can you rely on him to be a full-time number one pass rusher? You still got to get some help. I think you need more depth. The Cowboys don't always just need best player available, but they also need depth. And I don't think Keldrick Falk is quite there. I think Cassius Howell, again, there's some concerns with his size as well. TJ Parker's a guy that I would love. I don't think a lot of people are really talking about is Zion Young and R. Mason Thomas. And to me, I think Zion Young is going to be the surprise pick here for the Cowboys at number 20. It's not a chalky pick here. It's not a popular pick here. Most people would probably prefer Cassius Howe, TJ Parker, Keldrick Falk. Most analysts have Zion Young as an early day 2 pick, but the more stuff I read, the more people I talk to, you guys. Like I said, this pick would not shock me. I'm never going to turn down a chance for an NFL-ready run defender at edge, especially when the Cowboys need all the help they can get at defense. One thing I'm very confident about is this dude is going to be a force in the run game, man. He has great size, 6'6", 262. I just don't know. The pad level's not good. He's underdeveloped as an overall pass rusher. He's not polished. He's very twitchy, but he doesn't have high athleticism by any means. To me, I don't think he's going to be an effective pass rusher day one. I think he's going to be a really good run stopper, though. And I think the Cowboys need all the help they can get, all the depth they can get. And they're eyeing Zion Young, so the Cowboys will take Zion Young at number 20. I don't see Jordan Tyson falling much farther than 21st, and the Pittsburgh Steelers need a wide receiver Z spot to help out with DK Metcalf. I think they take Jordan Tyson at number 21. And look, JSN went at 20 a couple years ago, okay? So a lot of people feel like Jordan Tyson is getting disrespected. A lot of the concerns with Jordan Tyson are the same concerns with Justin Jefferson and JSN coming out. But the thing about Jordan Tyson is I think what's really pulling him back is that injury that he's had. The durability. He had a knee issue in 2022. He had the collarbone issue in 2024. He had the hamstring issue this past year. He is just as good as Carnell Tate, if not better. He is just as good as Mekhi Lemon, if not better. I don't think there's something separating those two guys that's having Jordan Tyson fall this far. Because Jordan Tyson, to me, when I watched him last year, I was like, oh, he's the best wide receiver, no doubt about it. And I still believe he can be there. I just think he's going to fall in this draft because of those injury concerns. There's just so much durability, question marks with him. Jordan Tyson is very explosive. He's productive when he's healthy. Like I said, keyword, when he's healthy, creative route runner, great deep ball contested catcher. He makes plays with the ball where you're like, okay, wow. He has those wild ball skills and timing at the catch point that maybe a Carnell Tate has as well, that maybe a Mekhi Lemon doesn't have, stretching the field. So I think he's going to be a good deep ball player. I can't ignore the durability. I can't ignore the separation. I think Mekhi Lemon is a lot better as a separator. And in terms of, making those clean cuts and timing downfield, I do like Mekhi Lemon overall. And I think in terms of like physical press coverage, when those cornerbacks are giving him problems, he can have some problems with separation. But Mekhi Lemon's maybe a little bit more polished in that department. So yes, I slightly lead Mekhi Lemon. I slightly lead Carnell Tate. But I don't think there's a huge drop-off in terms of where Jordan Tyson is going to be valued here. I just think because the question marks with the durability, he's going to fall to the Steelers. But this is good value. If you get him healthy, I think he can be the best wide receiver in this class. We saw JSN go at number 20. Granted, he was the first wide receiver taken in that draft. Point still stands. I've heard edge rusher is a possibility for the Chargers at number 22 here. Could that be Keldrick Falk? Could that be Cassius Howe? Could that be TJ Parker? Wouldn't hate it at all. But I do think with how bad the offensive line was in the postseason, I know Rashawn Slater got hurt. I know Joe Alt got hurt. I don't know how you could watch Justin Herbert play in that playoff game and not think that there's any other solution here. Proctor is a guy that's been rising on a lot of people's mock draft. I know there's concerns with his weight being a full-time tackle. Is Proctor a guy, if he moved to guard, could that take his game to the next level? Well, I think Harbaugh is going to know what to do with him. Given that he is the best available offensive lineman prospect, they're going to take Caden Proctor at number 22 here. And I think it's going to be a great pick because a lot of people are saying, oh, he's a tackle. You already have Joe Alt. You already have Rashawn Slater. You have Proctor move into the inside. You lost Mekhi Becton. I think the offensive line could really improve. I don't hate the idea of Cassius Howe, TJ Parker, or Keldrick Falk because you lost Odafe Owe, and when you made that midseason trade last year, he came in and provided you like 7 sacks. So you need to address that. I think they will address it in the second round, but I think with Caden Proctor rising, with the concerns with the injuries on the offensive line, with how bad they played in the playoffs, I think they're going to take offensive linemen here, and I think Caden Proctor is the perfect fit here for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I have another offensive lineman going here to the Philadelphia Eagles, Max Ihonachur out of Arizona State. He was a big product of their offensive line, helping Cam Skadaboo have a breakout year in the 2024. And look, this dude has not been playing football that long. I'm pretty sure he's only been playing football for like 4 years. So he's super young to the game. Could that be a weakness for him? Maybe it could. I'm not buying into this A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts BS. That's all media driven. by Philly media and everybody wanting to separate them. The main issue with the Eagles in 2025 was play calling and the offensive line not being nearly as dominant. The tush push did not work as effectively as it did in years prior. Jalen Hurts was uncomfortable. He had a pretty mediocre year. He was one of the more pressured quarterbacks in the league. And a big part of that was the loss of Hall of Fame or Lane Johnson missing 8 games. So you got to think about his replacement. You got to think about the future at the offensive line. There are several options you can go here for Philly. But with Proctor gone, I think they're going to take a swing on Maxi Honicher, who has the size, quickness, and ability to develop into that next guy behind Lane Johnson. And the thing I like about Maxi Honicher, he doesn't have to be a guy that come in and be a starter. I know they're taking him number 22 overall, number 23 overall, but it's not like he has to come in and start day one. You can develop him behind Lane Johnson, assuming he stays healthy. And if he has to come in and be ready, I think he'll be ready. And if you want him to be the guy moving forward, you do it. You know, you watch him on tape. He's big. He's long. He has great size. I think he's polished. He's very refined. He's a good athlete. You know, in terms of blocking, you know, I think he has a really good strength to move defenders in the run game. So I think he could be really effective. Philly loves running the ball. They're a run first team. Since he's so young, he might be a project and still developing. I think he's going to have to, you know, work on his footwork. You know, he's going to have better awareness. He's going to have to prove on his timing and his blocking. But I think you bring him into Philly as a backup a couple years and then make him a starter in year 2, year 3, I think he'd be really good, man. I like Maxi Honicher a lot for Philly at number 23. The Browns will benefit taking an offensive lineman, not at 6, at number 24. And people think maybe Blake Miller. I don't like Blake Miller watching him on tape at all. I like Caleb Lomo. I think opposite of Spencer Fano, I think he's a lot better of a prospect coming in. You know, Blake Miller to me, too many question marks. You won't be able to get Caleb any other time if this plays out this way. So play him at guard, man. Replace him Wyatt Teller. You know, like I said, a lot of these tackles are really guards disguised as offensive tackles. Caleb Lomo is no different. The Bears need to desperately beef up the interior defensive line, and the best person at that, to me, is either Caden McDonald or Peter Woods. I like Caleb Banks rising on a lot of people's draft stock, but I just don't think he's quite as polished as Caden McDonald and Peter Woods. He's just a freak big athlete. I think Peter Woods is arguably the best run stopper in this class, and I think they would benefit adding him to Chicago. It might seem like a gamble because I don't think that overall that the defensive interior line class is strong. I think it's more weaker than most seasons, but most scouts, including myself, believe that he will be a much better pro than college player because he has the physical tools, and the Bears need a disruptor who can be an elite run defender. I think Peter Woods, dominating force in the run game, quickness and movement skills for a defensive tackle, good size, great upper body strength, good at getting off blocks, everything that you want at a good disruptor at the defensive tackle position. The only thing that I think makes it a little bit of a gamble is he has no go-to move. He has no minimal pass rushing production. I mean, he's not polished at all in that department. He's still learning how to use his hands. I don't know if he's going to be as effective at the next level, but one thing I'm certain, like with Zion Young, he's going to come in and he's going to be a really good run defender day one. Like Arvell Reese, really good at run defending. David Bailey, not so much, really bad run defender. So maybe more question marks there. I like my defensive linemen that can stop the run, man. I don't know, sue me. That's the way I operate. So Peter Woods, I think, will be a much better pro than he is at the college level because, man, we see these college players, these college defensive linemen from Clemson that just don't pan out. Brian Breezy, Miles Murphy, those guys just ended up being average NFL players. And now there's questions about TJ Parker and Peter Woods. I hope those guys can translate more than those other guys did. And this is where I think CJ Allen will not fall any further. The Buffalo Bills will take him as their true might guy to replace Matt Milano. CJ Allen will be that next guy for them. And look, they got a new defense coordinator, Jim Leonard. They changed to a 3-4. I think this is going to be a great fit. You need a downhill linebacker to beef up a bad run defense in 2025. I don't want people to overlook how bad their run defense was last year. He had that nagging knee injury, so I think that's the only reason he's fallen this far. I think CJ Allen was a guy that could have been a top 10 to 15 prospect outside of that. But I think he's going to fall right into the Bills' lap here. I think he's going to be a true Mike. He has great instincts, great mirroring ability and agility, consistently in the right gap. He never bites on fakes. I think that's one thing I've noticed about CJ Allen on tape is he doesn't really bite on those fakes like some of these other linebackers do. He reads the offense and makes quick decisions. I like that about his game. He went to Georgia, so obviously coming and playing around elite talent on the defensive side of the ball. He lacks a little bit of the elite speed. I think his size is a work in progress. He's only 6'1", 230. I think he's going to need to add some mass to take his game to the next level. I like this fit a lot for the Buffalo Bills. The 49ers have some decisions to make here as well. They are preparing for life after Trent Williams. Even though they drafted Mykel Williams last year, they still have Nick Bosa. I mean, I still think that they could benefit from drafting an edge rusher here because their pass rush was bad last year. It was one of the worst ones in the NFL. So I think they're going to take a gamble on Keldrick Falk. Do I like it? No, not really. I actually like Mykel Williams a lot better, and they drafted him last year. So yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble to think they're going to take back-to-back edge rushers, but their defensive line was bad last year. And I know a lot of that had to do with Nick Bosa being hurt, but Nick Bosa's always hurt, let's be honest. So I just don't like Keldrick Falk. And like I said, there's a drop-off. There's more question marks than not with Keldrick Falk because he was supposed to be a higher prospect. And then you watch him play this season with Auburn and his draft stock just plummeted, man. Like this dude was supposed to be one of the best edge rushers coming out. It just was a disappointing year for him. But one thing that I'm confident that the 49ers might take him here is he did have a good combine. So, I think Shanahan and Morris might like that. They'd be like, oh, you know what? Based on everything we've seen and studied, like, we're going to take his upside and knowing that he had a good pro day, he's going to be ready. So I think they look past the flaws and the question marks of Keldrick Falk and take him with the number 27th pick, and they don't look back and they don't regret it because it's a late round pick at the end of the day. The Houston Texans are picking at number 28, and I think they're going to go youth here and beef up that defensive line and add to that historic defense overall that they had in 2025. I mean, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, you add Caden McDonald, D'Amico Ryan's getting good value late in the first round, adding to a historic defense. I'm not going to complain about that at all. Caden McDonald's on the level of Peter Woods. I think they are both right there as the best defensive tackles. Being an elite run defender, I think Caden McDonald and Peter Woods are all right there. I think Caden McDonald might actually be more pro ready. Because again, with the Clemson defensive linemen, you can never trust them. And Ohio State has a little bit more body of work, a little bit more talent working out in the NFL. But I like Caden McDonald a lot. He has that sturdy frame. He's very powerful. He's a tough player, man. And he's really good at elite run defense. You watch him at Ohio State with the talent he was surrounded by. I think he's really good at getting off the ball and bringing down ball carriers. I think he has a great skill set to continue developing, hopefully as a pass rusher, because I think that's the biggest flaw of all these defensive tackles in this draft class. It's not a very good class at all. And I think it's because they just don't have a wide arsenal of other moves that they do. They're just not polished, and they're more run stoppers than anything. So I do think that Peter Woods and Caden McDonald can benefit well with block recognition, having a better pass rushing motor, and overall just better juice to being a pass rusher. And I think that's what's going to elevate their ceiling. So, but again, I like the good value here. I like Caden McDonald here at Houston. They're getting the best available defensive player in the late rounds. D'Amico Ryan's defensive-minded guy, adding to an historic defense. Don't hate it at all. And I don't think offensive lineman is the reach here. Kansas City Chiefs at number 29. And I think after losing McDuffie and Watson, you do not have much help in the secondary. And Avion Terrell's sitting right there. And he's a similar type of man coverage corner that Spags would want to develop into a day one starter, similar to what they did with Trent McDuffie a couple seasons ago. You see how the success of his brother, AJ Terrell, in the NFL. You want a physical man coverage corner. You want somebody who's ultra competitive, always giving 100% on the field every time. That's what I love watching about his tape. He doesn't allow a lot of space, and he's always putting 110%. So I want players like that. I want players that want to win. I want players that are physical. I like the nice closing speed. He's super quick. He has good instinct. He's not the most athletic corner out there. And I think the reason that he's not highly touted prospect as a guy like Gerard McCoy or Mansour Delane, is because I think overall his size, he is a smaller 5'11", 180. I like this spot a lot for the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 30, Miami Dolphins. They're rebuilding everywhere, and their secondary needs a lot of help. And with new head coach and defensive-minded guy like Jeff Hafley coming from Green Bay, I think he will love the length and downhill ability that Emmanuel McNeil Warren will bring here out of Toledo. It's very similar to Dylan Thieneman. I mean, super toolsy, explosive, great size. The hard-hitting guys play well in deep coverage. They show their range when they come down, and they're playing against the run. He's bouncy, he's twitchy. I think he has that Pro Bowl potential at any defensive scheme, so wherever he ends up going. And I think Emmanuel McNeil Warren is in my top 20 draft board, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. So I like him and Dylan Thieneman a lot. I just think that Caleb Downs is at a different level because of the ability to just be a more consistent tackler. I think the biggest weakness between McNeil Warren and overall Dylan Thieneman is the fact that they need to develop more in their open field tackling. And these last two picks are going to be very intriguing because they're both the Super Bowl teams right here. New England Patriots. TJ Parker, I like him a lot more than Cassius Howe. You think maybe Cassius Howe goes here, but I like TJ Parker. And you think TJ Parker, okay, being 31 or Cassius Howe even, that would be a steal, right? But given how disappointing the season was for TJ Parker at Clemson, I think this spot is valid. He had potential at the beginning of the season to be a top 5 pick, but then he kind of fizzled out, similar to a Keldrick Falk. And I think given the potential and variety he can be used on the defensive line, I think that's why I slightly lean him over a guy that I watched at A&M every single game in Cassius Howe. Because Cassius Howe is smaller. He has a little bit shorter arm. And I think that Vrabel is eyeing that. And based on everything I've seen from Patriots mock draft, right? People say, okay, you're going to have to get offensive tackle. You might want to get receiver, but that's not something you reach, with the departure of Caleb Levon Chason this offseason and TJ Barker's ability to kind of play edge in 4-man fronts as a flex player. You can put him at the defensive line. He's better when he's rushing inside, actually. So, have different ways to use him at the defensive line, and help out with the scheme with Milton Williams. So I like the power and the length. I think overall the pass rushing tools are just a little bit more developed than Cassius Howe. I think that's what Mike Vrabel is going to look at. And they're going to take TJ Parker with their number 31 overall pick. And the last pick, the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And I think Brandon Cece is honestly the perfect type of fit and developmental piece for Mike McDonald defense late in the first round to fill that cornerback 2 spot. However, I believe Colton Hood is just a more pro-ready corner right away and will likely make more of an impact right away for the defending Super Bowl champions. And for that reason, I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to end up taking Colton Hood. I could see Brandon Cece. I do think that Colton Hood is going to be the pick here, but I do like the idea of the Seahawks maybe waiting and taking a D'Angelo Pounds or a Chris Johnson, because I've seen a lot of mock drafts of the Seahawks wanting Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. So I don't hate it, but I do think that Colton Hood is good value here at the number 32 pick. He's the next best available cornerback prospect, and he played on the opposite side of his teammate Gerard McCoy. So I like him a lot. Again, tackling can be better, sometimes too aggressive. He draws a lot of fouls watching his tape, but he's definitely still a top 5 corner in this draft class, and I think the Seahawks will benefit taking him here at number 32. That's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. That was my 2026 mock draft. Like I said, no trades for this mock draft. I want to keep it simple this year. I do imagine that there is going to be trades, but obviously don't believe everything you hear. They do say it's going to be trade dependent. I'll believe it when I see it. Last year, we obviously got a big trade with the number 2 with Travis Hunter and the Browns and the Jags. So I love parity. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope the Cowboys end up with one of those 4 guys. That would be awesome. I think that would be best case scenario, but it doesn't always pan out that way. Make sure to like, subscribe. Appreciate all the support as usual. Subscribe to my podcast. Check me out on 105.3 The Fan, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.